Good morning and welcome to another TAPP Talk Live. This is number 48 and we are here for, normally we're here Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. and this week we have European Sustainability Development Week. So in collaboration with a lot of other people, there's a whole load of events going on and we're running 8 live sessions with interviews with interesting stories from other people that are doing or helping people be more sustainable in Malta. And today we're talking to Jean Paul Farrugia from ReRoot in Malta, which is a zero waste shop. The only issue is that he's not here yet. So I thought we'd start the show live at 10 o'clock like we do every day. And I did have a message earlier from Jean Paul that he is joining us. And what I'll do is I'll just share the code with him to get in. And let's hope that he joins us in a minute. Let me just let him know that we are live. And just waiting for him, and we shall see what happens. So European Sustainable Development Week goes on from today until next Monday, the end of next Monday. So we've got a session every day at 10 o'clock, and we've got some interesting stories coming up. We've got Go. Here's Jean Paul right now. So let me just add you to the stream. Good morning, JP. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us. And so we've worked together. You've been a TAPP Water partner for, I think, really since nearly the very beginning.
I think maybe 2.5 years now, or nearly 3, I guess, right?
Yeah. So which is great. And I thought it'd be a good opportunity to tell your sort of ReRoot story for European Sustainable Development Week. So why don't we start with why come up with the idea of zero waste store in Malta? Where did that come from?
Yeah, maybe a bit of background. So I was at the time living in Switzerland. My sister was living in the UK, and we were both coming up with ideas that we wanted to come back to Malta for whatever reason. And we were very much, around the communities of zero waste, especially around Europe, Central Europe, and places like that. There were a lot of zero waste shops. I did a lot of my shopping there. I had many friends in the kind of like the zero waste communities, and we were very passionate about the idea, of reducing plastic waste and single-use plastics and things like this, because we saw at the time there was a lot of media coverage on the amount of single-use plastic and the damage it was having on our ecosystems and things to do with climate change. So when we were moving back down to Malta, we began discussing about opening up a business together. And we just found that it was like a really, let's say, nice fit, because there wasn't really something here in Malta at the time where you could find everything under one single roof. There was a lot of things you can find a multiple different places, a lot of different companies working maybe on Instagram or own their own e-commerce platform or maybe a small shop. But you couldn't find everything under one roof. I just kind of like wanted to kind of create that space where people felt comfortable and could find those items that they basically needed and hopefully educate in the process.
Okay, so what was the initial reaction when you first brought the shop into Malta?
A very, very mixed. I think we got a lot of people, especially family and friends, were kind of like raising their eyebrows and saying like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Are you sure about this? Many people felt, I think, that the Maltese public aren't ready for something so forward-thinking or something so dynamic, maybe. But then on the other hand, we got a lot of people who were really pleased to see something like this. Then they were just waiting actually for a shop that was able to provide refills, that was able to provide plastic-free alternatives, eco-natural alternatives, and they were able to find everything that they basically needed under one roof. So I think the initial reaction was definitely a bit mixed. Now, obviously, I think we feel that, we've moved on to a phase where we have become a kind of like a bit of a household name in a sense, and we have that reputation. But we still get people that are asking us like, oh, has it worked out for you? Are there people interested in these kind of things? So we still definitely get people asking these kind of questions sometimes.
So how much does education play a role in what you're doing? Are you continuously educating new people, or do you have people coming to the store that are already convinced about this kind of sort of, I don't know, lifestyle? Should we call it a lifestyle?
Lifestyle, I like the word lifestyle. It's a bit mixed. As in, like, we get definitely, we as ReRoot feel the responsibility that since we are, one of the only shops in Malta that provide such kind of products, and we don't want to just be that kind of business with just a simple transaction, and we're just, it's buy and sell. That's basically it, full stop. We want to kind of also educate people and help them understand that there are, alternatives out there. We don't expect people, obviously, to kind of like just wake up one morning, chuck out all their livelihood and all their products and just go for alternatives. We always educate people that, even small changes, some even small individual changes that you can make in your lifestyle can have that kind of beneficial impact at the end of the day. So no, there is that kind of like education factor, but we do get people who are also very, very much convinced, and they're very much living the whole zero waste lifestyle, and they obviously appreciate ReRoot being there. So it's a bit of a mix, I would say.
So if someone was interested and they didn't know a lot about it, where in their home, where would they kind of start? With what kind of product area would they do you think would be an easy place to start?
I would actually, personally, my personal experience, I normally go for the bathroom. I find the bathroom doesn't have as in like in comparison to the kitchen, I would say, doesn't have so much plastic. And I think it's an easy kind of way to slowly start kind of like changing little things here and there, because the alternatives aren't really so different and don't require so much of a taxing on yourself in terms of making those changes. Like, for example, buying a bar soap, which is completely natural, versus buying a liquid soap isn't such a major change in your lifestyle. Or going for a reusable shaver where all you have to do is change the blades, in comparison to buying these kind of single-use plastic shavers, isn't so taxing. Same thing with the bamboo toothbrushes idea, or all these other things. So I personally normally start with the bathroom. Another good thing that we always suggest is to do like an internal waste audit, which is basically compiling and binding up all your recycling for maybe about a week or 2 weeks, emptying that out, seeing where you have the most amount of plastic build up in your household, and then maybe tackling that. So that's another idea that we normally give people.
Oh, wow, that's a really powerful tip for where to start, isn't it? Just collect your recycling bags and then look at what you could eliminate.
Because you can see, like for TAPP, for example, and it's great because we normally found that with people who wanted to buy, for example, and purchase TAPP in the very first place, realize the amount of single-use bottles that they were using up in the week. And so when they did this exercise after 2 weeks, they said, "Oh my God, the amount of plastic bottles we had in the recycling was insane, and with the amount of plastic bags that we got was insane because they're big, the bottles." So that was somewhere where they could easily see, making a big change, to something, and you can already feel like a good feeling inside of you, like, wow, okay, I'm making a really good, initial change to help the environment and to also help myself out in the process. So I think it's a good exercise to carry out at home.
So one thing I think I heard you say was like start slowly and start small and make one change and then make another one, something that feels comfortable. I think you mentioned going from soap in a plastic container to a bar soap, or shampoo into a bar soap or something. And that's an easy place for starts, because I think sometimes if you see lots of influencers and things like that around, it's like too many steps to get to a final result, even if that result is an inspiring one. But you're saying a great place to start is just with a couple of items or a couple of things, and then do a waste audit and, okay, and then build on that, I assume.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. I think small changes make a bigger impact. Like we always like we get a lot of people saying, and I hear lots of friends sometimes saying, they chuck something on the floor, or they're smoking a cigarette and they just chuck it on the floor. They're like, oh, and you obviously, your initial reaction is like, guys, like maybe try and pick it up and like, throw it away nicely, maybe. And they're like, away as just one cigarette. What impact am I going to have as one individual? But that's with that kind of mentality, meaning if you don't realize that there are millions of people out there who are also smoking cigarettes and also, littering and throwing things on the floor. So as an individual, you may feel that you're not having an impact, but as a collective, if you were to, broaden your mindset and think about the sheer number of people that are throwing things on the floor, then yes, you are actually adding to a already bigger problem than it actually is. So I think in vice versa, thinking about in this situation, by you maybe picking up an alternative item like maybe a bamboo toothbrush or picking up a soap bar, whatever, and trying to reduce your plastic footprint from the overall kind of, let's say, global equation. If there are a lot of people doing this as a collective, you're having a major impact as well. So you're putting a less, let's say, influx and a less impact on the overall system in terms of adding more plastic to what there actually is in the first place.
And inspiring other people as you do it, sort of through a natural process, because you're inspiring maybe the rest of your family or
Yeah.
kids or whatever, as a sort of
Yeah,
natural
it's a
process as
ripple
well as
effect,
friends.
Exactly, like a
Yeah.
ripple effect. So you're going to obviously have a positive influence maybe on other people who would also then try and also do the same thing that you're doing in the first place. And again, it keeps on going on and on and on. So it's a matter of like, leading by example and, trying to show people around you that that even through small changes, there is a benefit for yourself, for the environment, and also hoping to kind of influence others in the process.
So if the bathroom would be the first place to start, where would be your next favourite place for people to start in the house, do you think?
No, I always think like obviously like if you want to really challenge yourself, I think the kitchen is something quite difficult to really get past, right? Because obviously, as of course, we're in the bathroom every day. Yeah, you have to use the bathroom, or you're going to have a shower and things like that. I always feel that those items aren't so taxing in terms of me purchasing a soap bar or me purchasing a reusable shaver is not so different in comparison to the norm. Whereas in the kitchen, because we buy so many products which require, and they're always packaged, they're always plastic packaged or wrapped in something or another. You going that extra mile to take your reusable bags and going to a refill station and refilling this and weighing it and then putting it into containers. It's a little bit more taxing. It's a little bit more of a, maybe if you want to call it an inconvenience, maybe as well. And in our very fast-paced kind of lifestyles nowadays, I think convenience is king, right? Meaning we obviously want to have that very fast-paced lifestyle. We won't just run down to the store, pick something up, go back home, cook something
Right.
quickly, etc. So I would say actually, it's not the easiest, but it's the most challenging place would therefore be the kitchen, in my opinion. I think there are many, many places you can end up by improving here in the kitchen.
Do you think in terms of sort of waste in weight, the kitchen has a bigger impact than something like the bathroom, for instance?
For sure, for sure. I think we, the amount that we consume, right? We're technically eating 3 times per day. We're, if you're a family as well, you're eating obviously more as a household. And obviously, unfortunately, in many cases, even though we have, refrigerators and we have freezers nowadays, products are perishable and they end up by going after a while. So, and when it comes to bathroom products, a shampoo or a conditioner or a shower gel is not going to go for you. Technically, you can keep it for years and years, and to a certain extent. Whereas, if I had a bag of spinach or if I had, a bag of lentils and I wasn't storing them properly, after maybe, a month, they're going to go for me. After a week,
Yeah,
it's going to
yeah.
go for me. So the packaging really combines and combines and combines, and you're constantly buying, buying, buying. So yes, for sure there are, and there are ways and means of how to kind of also, that's another subject altogether, of how to kind of preserve food better and how to be more conscious about the food that you have in your kitchen and how you're going to be preserving that to make it last longer and make it the most that you can use it. You know what I mean? So yes, I think the weight of the amount of items or the packaging or plastic that you're going to have in the kitchen is definitely much more, including other areas like, cleaning area. Like if you were to look at the laundry room, for example, that's also an area where we have a lot of plastic and a lot of packaging and chemicals as well. But I still feel that the kitchen is, by weight, definitely has the biggest impact.
Yeah, and is the kitchen also an area where you can actually just stop buying some of the things and buy something else that doesn't have the packaging around it? And
Yeah,
that doesn't mean to say sort of replacing one item with another. You're just actually buying something completely different without packaging.
exactly.
And that can have a serious impact, can't it?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Meaning, I think like, a very good example. There are a few supermarkets nowadays here in Malta, thankfully, which have these drop downs now. Like, the drop downs, they're basically these like, vessels, and
Right.
you can fill by weight. And that's already a great, example of how, you can go and try and reduce your single-use plastic. These are, this is always in the grocery, I would say, veg and fruit area. And even, taking your own bags and educating other people that you don't need to use single-use plastic, you don't even need to use paper bags, you can just use reusable bags that you're washing on a regular basis. And that already makes a massive impact. You know what I mean? Meaning the amount of single-use plastic I see people using at the supermarkets on a regular basis is insane. And okay, it's true that there are means and measures in Malta which are going towards trying to reduce these kind of single-use plastics and things like that. But even these biodegradable, the green plastics are still not great. Meaning we see a lot of greenwashing when it comes to certain kinds of
Absolutely.
certain kinds of products and plastics, and they say they're biodegradable and compostable, but sometimes it requires industrial composting, which we don't have in
Right.
Malta.
Which we
Or
don't have. Yeah.
sometimes, exactly, or sometimes, for example, they can still enter the environment and require an amount of time to completely biodegrade and still be taken up by other organisms and cause other issues and things like that. So I think personally, yes, it is an extra hassle. It is going to require maybe 3 or 4 extra steps in comparison to me just going to the supermarket, filling a plastic bag and going out. But it does have a major benefit, and you do also feel good in the process by doing so, because you're feeling you're actually having a positive impact on your environment and on your community as well.
So you've been going about 2 years, I think, or just over, haven't you?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
which
yeah.
is the same as us, actually. I think we started like almost around the same time, which was
Same time,
interesting.
I remember.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And how have you seen the sort of market that you're aiming for? How have you seen that change? Have you seen it expand as people become a little bit more aware? Or have you seen it change in sort of age or genders or family types or households or anything like that? Have you noticed any changes?
Well, I think initially starting out, we had a very big expat community. We know we have a very big expat community here in Malta for a number of reasons, and especially expats, let's say, in very developed countries who have had these kind of, let's say, concepts like zero waste and reusables and reuse and so on and so forth. These kind of concepts and philosophies already in mind. They were very much our kind of core customer base at the very beginning. We had Maltese people as well who were very intrigued and very interested in the idea, but the initial focus was mostly, I would say, on expats. Now I think it's really equaled out. We have a lot of Maltese who are really trying and really want to make those kind of differences and are trying to educate their children as well, educate their families and friends as well in the process. Um, and what we're seeing as well is, I think a lot of businesses are beginning to kind of wake up and saying, okay, if we're also getting pressure from our customer base, we're also getting pressure from maybe our global headquarters, maybe which are situated in Germany or situated in other locations, where they're telling them, guys, you need to do better, you need to have a lower carbon footprint, you have a lower plastic footprint, and for that reason, you need to try and put more measures in place as a company to try and convince your employees and your staff and your clients to also do better. So we're seeing a lot of companies who are approaching us, and now we're working with a lot of companies as well. We're doing a lot of business services and things like that to try and help them and support them to, help their staff or help their employees or help their clients, or even trying to reduce their plastic footprint as well. So it has grown. It's definitely grown. With Malta, it's obviously a little bit slower the pace sometimes, so it can be a bit frustrating, but it has grown. It's definitely grown.
So what sort of things have you been able to do in companies,
So with companies, we
like in
do a
offices and things like that? What could people do in offices?
So in office, what we tend to end up by doing is we give a lot of like seminars and talks to just basically bring a bit of awareness around the idea of waste management, around the idea of trying to reduce your plastic footprint, and what they can do as individuals in their own home and in their own free time, and what they can do as individuals as being a part of the company or the office in the first place. So there are multiple like ways and means of how they can reduce. Like we do a little bit of like an exercise where we do like an internal plastic audit kind of with the team there, and we kind of like walk around the place. We see, okay, like this can there are alternatives for this particular product that you can purchase. There are ways and means that you can manage your waste management in a better way. You can add incentives to your employees that, let's say, for example, like you can have a waste box where you're only throwing single-use plastic in this box for a month. And then as a team, you can kind of like separate it and say, okay, like where are we accumulating most of our single-use plastic, and what kind of measures can we do as a team to try and reduce that from the office, essentially. You know what I mean? Like meaning maybe you see that you have a lot of coffee cups that you're kind of like accumulating from these like outdoor coffee places and stuff like that. And why not kind of make an investment as a group or as a team to purchase reusable coffee cups that we can keep inside the office, and everyone can just grab and go and grab coffee as you go along. You know what I mean? So there are a lot of these different measures that you can begin realizing over time. And then we also like trying to kind of like organize, little beach cleanups, or like we do like a little mental health days as well, where we offer a space together with an NGO walk and talk, where we can like walk around in like nice rural areas and clean up the areas well, whilst also being open and talking about maybe mental health issues. So we have a lot of little measures and little things and activities that we're starting up. So we're slowly working with businesses.
So can a company contact you and you'll go round and sort of talk to teams and employees and that and see what can be done, what flexibility? Can they just contact you and you'll do that?
Yeah. I mean, we normally they can exactly do that. They can contact us and we can discuss, and we do a tailor-made kind of service where we, make something specific to what they're basically requesting. Like I know there's also European, I think, Waste Week coming up in November. So we have some
Yeah.
companies wanting us to focus, maybe us do a seminar about waste management, what they can do as a company to reduce their waste management. And we've also worked with schools as well to try and educate. Like we're really big on trying to kind of like advocate towards the idea that we really feel and believe that we should focus on our younger generation first, and trying to kind of maybe convince them and change their mindset first, and hopefully in the future that we get a new generation of people who are it's comes so normal to them to be anti
Right.
single-use plastic. So we like working a lot with schools and with summer schools as well, to try and bring the idea about single-use plastic in a more fun and dynamic kind of way. So for sure, we need, as even if companies or schools want to reach out to us to work with them, we're more than happy. I mean, it's something that we would love to do.
So I've just left the website rerootmalta.com on the screen so people can see that, and you can contact JP through there. And finally, one of the things that I was thinking about is, what's your personal favorite zero waste solution?
Ooh. To be honest, I think, and I think that has to do with Malta, especially because being a country where we don't have, and this is going to sound really obviously like I'm trying to sell tap as much as I am as possible, but it's the concept of the single-use bottles. Like when I basically came back to Malta from Switzerland, I was living in multiple areas around Europe, so. Were very, very privileged by the idea that even when I was living in the UK, or I was living even in Spain sometimes, or Germany, I can just go to the tap and I can fill up my water and I can drink from it, and it was completely fine. And then when I moved back and I began, doing my grocery shopping, I quickly realized that I was like, okay, I can't actually drink from the tap over here for multiple different reasons, which I knew as a Maltese person growing up, that it's not great to drink from the tap. So I began accumulating a lot of single-use plastic bottles, which was literally, I think, hell for me, like as a person, as an individual who started ReRoot, it was like a new company for us, and I'm buying all the single-use plastic. It was really against my grain, essentially. So I think like ideas like TAPP, for example, TAPP system or other systems as well, whatever they may be, really I think support the idea that can really help and benefit something which I think is in nearly every Maltese household, which are single-use bottles, and trying to at least reduce that kind of plastic footprint. It's something very easy to implement. It really helps to kind of like really reduce your overall carbon footprint. And I think it's a very good start in my opinion, to at least start from somewhere, and hopefully it inspires you to move into other directions in the household as well.
So do you think we're moving forward then in Malta? I mean, what I
Um,
wanted to do with these sustainability stories is bring
uh-huh.
8 positive stories into Malta,
Yeah,
because we hear all the bad news. The world's going
yeah,
to end, the climate's going to get us, this, that, and the other, pollution, whatever. But there are things happening. I noticed that when we did the climate award ceremony last year, there's lots of initiatives, and there's lots of different little organisations and big organisations try and do something. There's a new alliance and of larger corporations doing some
okay.
sustainability stuff and all that kind of stuff. So what do you think the future is, as a sort of final comment as we wrap up? What do you think the future is for less waste and moving towards a more sustainable lifestyle in Malta?
Well, I think so. It's like a very, very loaded question, but I think
It's the last one, so I thought I'd go for it.
today. Well, I think when it comes to any kind of change, right? It's like a top-down approach. I think as individuals, as consumers, we have a lot of power that sometimes we don't really realize. And in Malta, it's
Right.
always been the same situation. Even maybe you can say politically, So I mean, I won't go into that, but like even politically, like as in we don't really see how much power we have as individuals in terms of a voice and in terms of the actions that we take as individual consumers. So I think that hopefully, with the inspiration, with education, with more awareness, and with maybe more companies like us starting up slowly, people will start changing their consumer habits and begin putting that pressure as well on larger organizations to begin realizing that they also need to make those changes and need to begin acting fast if they don't want to end up by losing those big consumers. Like if we take big brands like Unilever or like Coca-Cola and Pepsi and so on and so forth, they are making their changes. They are slowly realizing that they need to also act now if they don't want to be, completely forgotten, or they will never be forgotten, but maybe, lose a big market share in their sales. Um, and on the other hand, besides obviously us kind of like doing a kind of like a bottom up approach, it has to be the top down approach, where I think, the government needs to obviously begin implementing and begin acting now, together obviously with the European Union. I know there are a lot of measures being put into place, and a lot of, new kind of laws and so on, so forth being put into place to put pressure on the government, and therefore put pressure on other organizations and companies that they need to also begin reducing their amount of single-use plastic, and in terms of whatever they're selling to consumers. So, I mean, I think we're going to begin seeing that. I think, unfortunately, from the government point of view, because a lot of policy and bureaucracy, so on and so forth, sometimes these things take obviously longer than we obviously want. And I think things like climate change and things like plastic pollution, they're so natural and so kind of like fluid that they're obviously going at whatever pace they want to go at, but it's obviously mother nature at the end of the day. So, they're not going to wait for something like bureaucracy or for like a law to end up by passing through. So that is a bit frustrating. And that's when it comes down to us, I think, as individuals, then, that we need to begin acting now and begin making those kind of consumer changes already, to begin pushing really fast those kind of changes that need to happen, obviously, from larger corporations in the first place. So yeah, hopefully we can begin seeing more inspiring people coming up, and actually, being able to get more educated, bringing more awareness.
Yeah, I think there's a good reminder there that consumers, like you and I, are
Yeah,
just consumers, but the impact we have as an individual means that it does actually make a big difference,
for
because
sure.
another person starts doing it, another person starts doing it, and there are more people doing it than there are people controlling the policies and stuff like
Exactly.
that. And then we see difference. If we stop buying something, companies do notice.
Yeah, for sure.
And make
We
change. So,
notice, we have companies and we notice all the time.
right.
So let alone these big corporations, you know what I mean? So for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's a
how-
wonderful message and a positive one. So I'm very grateful that you came along to chat to us today. And hopefully, if you're catching the recording, we're live all week, Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. And for European Sustainable Development Week, we are also live on Saturday and Sunday this week with some more conversations, with some wonderful, inspiring sustainability stories from Malta, like JP's from ReRoot. So thank you very much, Jean Paul.
Thank you
I'm
very
going
much.
to put a screen in to cover us up and then put some music on and then end the broadcast, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Amazing.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks. Have a nice day.
And you.